Hello, and welcome to Givey Connect Plus, a podcast series where we talk to local charities in the UK and put the spotlight on their exciting projects and initiatives. I'm your host, Fiza Surheel, and our guest for today is Joe Walker from the WhiteHawk Foodbank. According to the WhiteHawk Foodbank, no one in the community should have to face going hungry. For this reason, they work to provide 3 days of nutritionally balanced emergency food and support to people in WhiteHawk and the wider East Brighton area. They are part of a nationwide network of food banks supported by the Trussell Trust, working to combat poverty and hunger across the UK. Once again, a very warm welcome to Joe. Thank you so much for joining us today in this episode of Givey Connect Plus. Can I please ask you to start us off by introducing yourself, the work that you do, and also the various WhiteHawk food bank projects that you've been involved in during the recent past?
Oh, well, yeah, great to be on the podcast. My name is Joe, as mentioned, and I work as the project manager at the WhiteHawk Foodbank in East Brighton. And I've been involved in the food bank for about 2 years now. Initially, kind of helping out with some of the kind of admin and roles and various kind of communication stuff, and then kind of took on the project manager role during COVID. So was a lot to get used to, because we've been over COVID's kind of been our busiest ever period. So kind of steep learning curve in that way. But I was born in Brighton and I live near WhiteHawk, so I really kind of enjoy the role and being able to kind of feel like I'm able to support the community in some way through what we do.
Excellent. Thank you for that introduction. So just in terms of the recent projects of WhiteHawk Foodbank, when I went on to Givey's website, there was one particular project that's still ongoing and you guys are still collecting funds for that. So I think it's titled as Emergency Food for People in Crisis, and it's still ongoing. So if you could just let us know the basic details behind this project and where it is at, and if there's a deadline where you'd like to raise the funds by, and how it's going on with that particular project.
Yeah, so I guess the that fundraiser is kind of our general fundraiser, which kind of supports the various work we do in primarily providing emergency food parcels for those that are referred to us, but also in seeking to our kind of vision is to end the need for food banks in the UK and in our community. So we kind of use our resources that are donated, primarily, like the obvious kind of goal is to be able to provide the food that people need when they're referred to us, but we also kind of want to work towards creating a society and a system where our kind of services aren't needed. So
oh wow, that's a very, very cool mission, of course. And of course, that's stated in your overall mission statement as well. And you mentioned just now about the food bank vouchers and all of that kind of stuff, I was a bit confused about that, where it said that there's a voucher referral system, how you guys work. If you could just briefly let us know how that all of that works to, refer to you guys, just so people know how that actually works.
Yeah, so different food banks in the UK will have different systems that they work with. So some are more kind of drop-in, self-referral style food banks, and then majority of food banks that are part of the Trussell Trust network will work on a referral-based system. And I think kind of one of maybe the kind of common misconceptions around it is that through referrals we're trying to police kind of people's access to food parcels, and that, that might be a very small part of it, but generally it's about making sure that people are accessing the support that they need to kind of try and address some of the underlying issues that might be causing them to need emergency food support. And so I guess what that looks like on a kind of operations basis for what we do is that we're partnered with various local agencies in our community. So that might be social services or the local kind of housing, state housing department, and kind of GP surgeries. And so those agencies will identify clients that they work with who are in need of support, and then they will refer those clients to us to access that support for initially up to 6 weeks. And what we will then do is work alongside the agency, the client, and ourselves, the food bank, to try and aim for, at the end of that referral, that we've kind of helped that client to be in a better situation than they were when they were initially referred to us. That's kind of the general idea behind and then operation of our referral system.
Excellent. That makes so much sense, and you explained it in a very like easily understandable way. So thank you so much. So of course, there's the fundraiser, and then there's monetary support as well. But just wondering if there's other options available for people to get involved in your overall mission, and in terms of any volunteering opportunities, if you could just shed some light on how people could contribute to your mission.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, we massively appreciate all kind of the financial donations that we receive, largely through the Givey platform, which is kind of really, really appreciated because it allows us to kind of, when we notice we're low on specific items, then we can purchase those items as and when we need them. Whereas obviously relying on the physical donations of food can be a little bit ad hoc, so it makes planning a little bit difficult. So those having financial donations that we can use alongside that is really good. But I guess beyond that kind of financial support, we are largely a volunteer organization, so the majority of our team will be volunteers, and so and at the moment also we're looking at trying to diversify our volunteering roles in terms of, traditionally it will just be packing the food and helping to process and work in the stockroom and warehouse, and then some deliveries. But we're looking at how we can use different people's skills and expertise to kind of and their backgrounds and things to help us in our kind of longer term vision, and that kind of wider idea of helping to create a more kind of just society for the community that we're aiming to support. And so on our website, if you Google WhiteHawk Foodbank, you'll be able to find our website, and there's a volunteering kind of form that you can fill out, which just sends us a quick email of your details so that you can get in touch with us that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. And definitely sounds like there's quite a few opportunities and not just monetary support that people could offer. So thank you so much for shedding light on that. But those were just like the basic things about some of your most like the services that you offer, the basic stuff. But now just taking a bit like going deeper into the whole overall mission of WhiteHawk Foodbank, I was just interested to know, the deeper story behind your mission and what were the overall motivations that went behind, deciding that we want to combat this major issue of poverty and hunger in the UK society. So if you could just tell us a little bit about the story of this food bank and how it all began.
Yeah, so we've been in operation for just over 5 years, and before that, there was kind of kind of small community project that would provide people with a bit of kind of food and maybe some a meal together and things, and it kind of started becoming apparent that people were kind of needing a bit more than that, and so then a kind of team of people who founded the food bank kind of worked alongside the Trussell Trust to explore what it would look like to open up a Trussell Trust food bank in East Brighton in WhiteHawk. And so it kind of began there. And I guess for majority of that 5-year history, it's been predominantly about getting kind of physical supplies and food to people that need it, and that will kind of always be the primary focus of what we do. But kind of like I've mentioned earlier, we're still working with the Trussell Trust and now kind of looking at what it might look like to do kind of more than food. So as well as supporting people, individual people with food parcels, how we can kind of contribute to a conversation and a change in the way that kind of society in the UK is structured. And there's 3 kind of ways that we look to do that. The first is through changing communities, and what that looks like is making sure that everyone who accesses our support is also kind of accessing other forms of support they might need, whether that's kind of debt advice or welfare rights or housing support. And we're looking to try and make that less reactive, so that people don't access debt advice when they're in emergency crisis situation, that we're kind of helping people to access that support in advance of needing food parcels. The second is through changing policy. And so that's about kind of using the kind of physical data we collect, but also kind of the stories and experiences we pick up and our experience in the work we do to kind of inform different policy makers, both at a kind of more local but also at a national level, and to use that to kind of shape the way that policy is made in this area going forward. And then finally, it's through changing minds, and that's about kind of generating more awareness about the issues of food poverty in the UK, and kind of wider just issues of deprivation that people are experiencing in our communities.
Wow, that's those 3 different, layers to your goals really sound so amazing, and just the way you elaborated on each of those stories really is amazing. It definitely shows how you're not just like offering those basic services, but trying to transform society as a whole, which is
Mm.
definitely really inspirational, I must say. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. And of course, because WhiteHawk Food Bank, provides those services to so many people, it obviously is a given that you must have faced some significant challenges and also setbacks since not only since when you first began, but also during those recent times. So if you could just let us know of some of your challenges and your setbacks, not just during those unprecedented times when we're living amongst COVID, but also since when you first started, and if you could just tell us about those challenges and also how you overcame them.
Yeah, so I mean, as you kind of mentioned, we've kind of seen over the 5 years that we've been operating, the numbers have increased year on year. And so what started as a small operation run out of a few cupboards has turned into this bigger thing that takes up the entire ground floor of a community centre. So it's the logistics of that have always kind of been a challenge. But I think the wider kind of tension that there's always been is this sense of firefighting, I think, where it's just kind of rushing from crisis to crisis, and that's where you just kind of as different members of the team, you just end up feeling quite run down and burnt out, because there doesn't look as if there's any end to it. And so I think us as a food bank, but also as a network of food banks and the Trussell Trust, I think we've faced this choice really of kind of do we accept food banks as a kind of a norm of 21st century society in Britain, and therefore just put all our resources into making sure that those food banks operate as effectively as possible, or do we kind of still prioritize that, but also use kind of some of our resources and capacity to try and move away from that kind of rushing around from crisis to crisis, and looking at what we can do to challenge some of the underlying issues that are surrounding food bank usage in the UK.
I see. Yes, definitely. With the logistics, it's you have to manage so many things and so like reach so many people at the correct time. It obviously must have been a very significant um, challenge. So, just like looking at those challenges and those setbacks, do you have any tips or perhaps advice for others in the charity sector or who are like fellow food banks? And if you have any tips or advice for them if they're struggling or if they're facing any kind of like distressful situation, if you could give them a few tips.
Yeah, I think we're incredibly blessed to have just a brilliant team of mainly volunteers, and so I think building that team and that kind of sense of kind of camaraderie amongst your volunteers and your wider team is a really kind of key thing. And I think when especially for people who are perhaps responsible for leading some of those operations or those teams, what really motivates me is the kind of hard work and dedication I see of the people and the volunteers that are helping out every week. And that's really kind of what will keep you going. And I guess just from a like maths perspective, it's far more efficient to have 5 people doing 10 hours a week than it is to have one person trying to do 50. So just building that team, I think, is a really key thing to prioritize.
Absolutely. Like a strong team is such a blessing, and you guys can work together to divide all those major tasks, that those difficult tasks just don't look that difficult
Yeah.
anymore when you're part of a very strong team. So definitely thank you so much for that key tip and golden advice. So, in terms of just your personal journey with the food bank, I'd just like to know if there's a quote or like a motto that you live by personally, or something that resonates with you and the whole food bank, WhiteHawk Food Bank team that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I think we have our kind of general vision and mission statement, but under that we kind of have a set of values that we try to operate by and inform our kind of decision making and strategic direction and stuff. And one of the key ones for us is the value of justice and seeking to create a more just society. And I guess as I kind of mentioned a bit earlier, within the kind of charity sector and all that kind of work, what makes it really kind of tiring and draining can be when it feels like you're not seeing any progress or any change. And so I think that value of justice as a team and as an organization kind of continually reminds us that we're working towards something bigger, that we're there's that kind of bigger goal and bigger vision in sight, that we're wanting to to see a society that people can feel a kind of greater sense of fairness within. And so I think that helps us to keep that bigger vision in focus.
Yes, and that's the over like comes into the overall, goal and aim of the whole food bank. But also, is there like a quote that you live by or something that drives you forward?
Oh, that I live by. I think, as an organization, that sense of justice really kind of motivates us. Uh, Personally, one of our values that I think really resonates with me is our value of dignity, um, and that we don't just want to be providing people with food, but also a sense of dignity. So choice is a really important aspect of that. We try to give people as much choice within the food parcel that they receive from us, and because I think choice empowers people's dignity and sense of self-worth, and and the way that kind of links in with what we do is that any kind of transformation has to be led from the community that perhaps needs that kind of transformation. And so if you're empowering people's kind of self-worth and self-confidence and the general dignity of a community, then you enable people to kind of represent themselves, and I don't know, that kind of sense of dignity within a community is really important to me.
Absolutely. That touches on so many bigger, important ideas. And it's not just about the food parcels, but it's like bringing about, that transformation by empowering people. So, yes, thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. And yes, that was a really good look at your, overall journey and just some of the challenges that you've faced. And I'm just curious to know if there's any like bigger short-term or long-term goals that your organization has in mind, because obviously one of the fundraisers is still ongoing, but if there's some immediate goals that you guys wish to accomplish in the near future.
Yes, one of them is we're going to be launching a new fundraiser on Givey, which is called Spread the Love, and that is a kind of play on words of kind of spreads that you would use for packed lunches and things. And so that fundraiser is going to be kind of aimed specifically at kind of generating funding to purchase kind of things that would be really useful for local families to use during school holidays when they're not kind of accessing any meals from the schools. And so that will be something that's launching on Givey in the next few weeks that people can take a look at. And then I guess longer term in September, we're kind of looking to publish more formally our kind of 5-year vision and strategy, and some of the goals that we want to achieve. And so that will kind of be launching then, and so it's worth just keeping up to date on our social medias and things to look out for those kind of things that we're doing. So that's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at WhiteHawk FB. If anyone wants to drop us a follow and keep up to date with what we're doing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I'll definitely be following all of your pages and just making sure I keep an eye on up at the Givey pages. And I just wish you guys all the very best of luck for all of your future adventures. And I hope all the successes come your way and you keep doing the amazing work that you're doing right now, because you're changing societies, obviously. And on that note, we would like to conclude this episode of Givey Connect Plus. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Givey Connect Plus. We will be returning with another episode with another special guest very soon, but until then, goodbye and take care.